For the final 6 years of my corporate career, I was the lean champion for a technology group based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I supported 4 distinct value streams: research and development, new product development, capital engineering, and business and operations support. All 4 of those value streams used the pilot plant to either test, verify, or trial new product ideas or issues that were found in the field. Now, this pilot plant was a series of disconnected processes that allowed people to test and trial different components and different processes that led up to making ceiling tile. The technicians kind of ran the pilot plant, and there was a lead technician, we'll call him Roy. He was responsible for the organization, planning, and scheduling for the total plant, and he had a bunch of technicians that had ownership at various areas of the plant. Now, at the end of every year, the whole pilot plant would shut down for an annual cleanup, which was pretty much led by the technicians, who hated this cleanup. The issue is, engineers, scientists, and others would trial and test things through the years, but never remove or get rid of extra materials, supplies, or equipment. So the technicians would shut everything down for about 3 to 4 days and attempt to organize and clean out the plant so that the next year everything could start out in an organized and safe fashion. Well, the reason why they hated it so much was that after about 3 weeks at the beginning of the next year, the pilot plant would turn back into that cluttered mess because, unfortunately, most of the folks using it didn't really take ownership of the materials that they over-ordered, and the clutter would just start to grow and grow and grow. Now, Roy, as the leader of the pilot plant, knew this wasn't the best option, and he was quite frustrated. He wanted to know what he could do about it. He was trying to hold the scientists and engineers and others accountable, but for them, they were just being safe by ordering extra things. What they weren't doing was taking care of their stuff and cleaning up after themselves. What could he do? So the first thing he tried to do was talk to his manager and me about holding people accountable. Well, I knew that I could help Roy as I saw people doing things that they shouldn't be doing, but his manager was pretty much relying on Roy to deal with the day-to-day, hour-by-hour type issues that occurred. So Roy was still frustrated. Now, we started organizing the pilot plant section by section, area by area, using 5S Kaizen events. And generally, the results were quite amazing. Different small areas of the pilot plant were getting so organized it became so much easier to test, trial, and do your work than some of the areas that hadn't been 5S. And we knew we couldn't do them all at once. So Roy was still frustrated because some people just weren't playing by the rules. So one day, in a heat of the moment after a technician huddle, Roy stopped me on my way back to the office and said, "Look, I'm pretty fed up by this. What can I do? My manager will not hold people accountable." I said, "Roy, think about it this way. Your manager is like the plant manager, and you're the ops manager. Your manager is relying on you to hold accountability to the people that use your plant. I need to be able to help you figure out a system to ensure that we can do just that." So he was intrigued. He was also frustrated, so he knew he had to try something. So he and I set aside a few hours here and there to kind of strategize. And one of the key things we did was we created a visual board of area ownership. So there were 35 different areas in the pilot plant. Some of them had been 5S, others had not. But there were certain minimum safety and organization expectations that we set that everybody who owned an area should be accountable to. Now, the 5S area had more expectations than the non-5S areas. But we created an area owner board. And what we did was we listed all 35 areas with the names of the owners of the area and pictures of the people who did own the area. Now, the idea that we came up with was each area should meet certain expectations by the end of every month. So what we decided to do was put a red magnet in front of every area on the board at the beginning of the month. Then, when an area reached the expectation as decided by the area owner, they could replace the red magnet with green. The goal would be at the end of the month, every area got to the green. So we thought we had a system that would work out well. We would place the board right in the room where the technicians would meet on a weekly basis for their huddle and try to hold accountability to it. So Roy and I decided to lay out this new plan for the pilot plan, along with other elements to strategy. As we talked through the area owner board, we could see the technicians getting angry at the point of the red magnet starting at the beginning of every month. And we said, this doesn't mean that you're bad or you haven't done what you're supposed to do. What it does mean is the area is not fully compliant until you meet all those expectations and turn it to green. Well, they didn't like the idea of the red dots. They thought it made them look bad, but they were willing to give it a try. And I decided to incentivize by saying the first month that we get all green, I'll buy everybody lunch. Well, it took about 2 months before things started to look like we had a chance to get all green. And on month number 3, 2 days before the end of the month, there was one area that was still red. And during the technician huddle, you could see the pressure being applied to that one technician who had not met his objectives. The good news was that he was able to get compliant by the end of the month. We had a great feed and celebrated, but the best news of all was that the system became self-sustaining, holding each other and others accountable, and by the end of the year, we had eliminated the hated annual cleanup. I hope this story provided you with some inspiration to revisit your own processes. I have a lot more I'd like to share. Head over to pi-partners.com to learn how I can help. And check back from time to time for more Kaizen stories.